Hope you're ready for this.
Gonna be fun.
You will not stand in my way.
Frostborn. Hunger. This pleases me.
I do not fear you, mortal.
Your soul shall be mine.
Don't make me laugh.
Needs a brew? Oh, I do. Feel a shredding, baby. Let the battle begin.
Yeah. All right. Take two with the sound. Welcome to the 6th episode of Trollin HGC, a Heroes of the Storm podcast focused on eSports, a member of the Trolls.gg podcast network. I'm your host, LiQuid, and I'm joined today by my man Bahgz, back from work, here to actually take part in the show. Hey, man, how's it going?
What is going on? I am so happy to be back. I'm not at work. This is a very relaxed environment compared to where I normally am. So this is great.
Yeah,
happy to be here.
It's good to have you back, man. Bacon did a great job while you were gone. But it's not the same. It's just not the same. It's good. We still did a good show, but it's not quite the same. So I'm glad to have you back, man.
I was happy he was able to fill my shoes while I was out. So, and I chatted with him online on in game, told him thank you so much for covering, and he was really good.
Cool. All right, so before we jump into our news that we have one or two things to discuss, we are going to thank our Patreons over at patreon.com/trollsgg. We do share that with the Nexus Trolls. When you join as a Patreon of the Trolls GG network, your money is going to help us give things away at BlizzCon, support both shows, and really just show us, hey man, we love what you're doing. We're going to go ahead and throw you $1 a week or whatever you like, any amount, doesn't matter. Over on the Nexus Trolls, Daz is picking out a Patreon of the week. This week it was Super Dave, who usually actually watches both shows and gives me grief when we don't have a show. 2 weeks ago when I had to cancel because I was working, he's like, dude, where was my trolling? Like, I need to know what's going on with HGC. So absolutely, if you have any money you want to spare and send our way, check us out at patreon.com/trollsgg. Show's always going to be free. I don't plan on putting commercials in anytime ever. But, anything you give us does go into the money we're going to bring to BlizzCon with us to give some stuff away. T-shirts. Daz was looking at these glasses. They're like old thick plastic, like 80s sunglasses, but they had the Heroes of the Storm Nexus logo on the lens. So cool things like that we're looking to do when we go out to BlizzCon this year. So, yeah. All right, so let's move on to some news. Open Division NA Cup number 2 was this week, and Ghost You Gamers, the morning of, tweeted out and said, hey, this is going to be played on the Tournament Realm today. And I get why it was on the Tournament Realm. It needed to be on the Tournament Realm because starting your tournament on Monday on the Tournament Realm and then on Tuesday, or on live, and then on Tuesday saying, hey, the Stukov patch just dropped. Everybody move over to the Tournament Realm. Like, that's more problematic than just saying, we're just going to play on the Tournament Realm, right? Like, I get it. I support the decision to use the Tournament Realm. In fact, honestly, I feel like the Tournament Realm's underutilized in my opinion. So I totally think that should be the case. But the way they let everybody know caused a problem.
Yeah, so, I mean, going forward, I'm of the opinion they should always use the Tournament Realm.
Yes.
Just because, so that they can completely avoid situations where, say, Monday they're on one patch and on Tuesday it's the Stukov patch with, like, it just completely changes the entire meta, or potentially, right?
Right.
But like you're saying, it's you can't just throw that curveball last minute on everyone when there's if there's 30, 40, 60 teams trying to get in it, it's potentially hundreds of people that have to make an adjustment at the last second. And these are people who are trying to be pros, but also have J-Jobs currently because they're currently not being paid to play the game.
So I'm glad you brought up that point, because here's my thing, and I'm probably gonna get hate for this. The day the Tournament Realm was announced, I installed it. The day. That's the day someone, but actually, it was never even really announced. The day somebody on Reddit said, hey, there's a Tournament Realm in the launcher, I happened to be working at home that day. And I immediately launched the Blizzard launcher, went, oh, crap, there really is oh, man, I got to have this, and installed it. Like, there was no thought. It was just, there is? All right, bam, bam, bam. All right, it's installed. I'm not going to do Open Division. At least I currently have no plans at all to do Open Division. But I wanted to have that. I've encouraged Super Jova with Chair League to play on the tournament realm. It's supported by Blizzard. It's not going away. They use it with the structure of HGC and all of the online matches that they have to support. The tournament realm's not going anywhere. So I have suggested that we play on the tournament realm for Chair League. But I guess my point is, if you're trying to be a pro, right? Because ultimately you're hoping to win Open Division, to go to the Crucible, to win at the Crucible, to make it into HGC, like, install Tournament Realm. Now, I get that not everybody does that. I get that not everybody thought about it. I get, like, there's a bunch of reasons why maybe that's not the case. But, like, come on, man. Really? Like, so I guess the biggest problem was, and not I guess, like, one of the biggest problems was teams were disqualified for not having the patch installed, or not having the tournament realm installed, so they weren't able to join their game in time. I feel for those teams, but at the same time, I watched a team not qualify for HGC in 2016 because the dude's power went out in Germany, and he couldn't get to an internet cafe with his rig fast enough to like, they ran out of time.
Yeah, I understand.
Right? Like, it happens. Like, you gotta, like, I don't know, like,
eSports, man, internet problem.
Well, like, you know what? I struggle with this, right? I totally struggle with this because I'm like, I look at things so differently than other people. Like, even at work, I have this same problem where I'm like I'll constantly ask my boss, is this me being me, or like, is this really a problem? Because all right, if I was in HGC, I would have 2 internet connections in my home, 100%. I would not have just one. I would have 2. Because if my internet goes out, my team has to play with a bot or we're going to lose that game, right? Like, potentially those are the 2 things that are going to happen. So those are, like, my requirements. Or I know that I can grab my laptop and I can get to Panera in 4.5 minutes and I can play my game from Panera, right? Like, you have a plan. You got to think those things through, right? But I don't know how much of that is just me being, like, crazy, like, I have to do it this way. Another example, before Chair League Tuesday night, dude, I legitimately went into an AI game, ran through all my overlays, and pretended I was casting those games. Now, I broadcast it to YouTube Live where unlisted, so nobody knew I was broadcasting it. But I had it on another computer, and I ran through all that stuff because I want to make sure when I did my things Tuesday night, my stream deck was set up the way I wanted. I could quickly move scene to scene, like, things were smooth, right? And I guess maybe overall, that's something that's kind of missing in esports in general. And the way I would describe that is just like a level of professionalism, right? Like, you got to be prepared to do that stuff.
That's what I was exactly going to say. So it's a lot of these guys, and now it's tougher for these guys in the open division. And I see where you're coming from, because they're trying to aspire to be pros, so they should, kind of conduct themselves in that manner. Whether that is just, you don't know if you're ever going to play on the tournament round, but you should always have a backup plan, right? And be ready for it. So I see where you're coming from in that respect, but you also have to keep in mind on the other hand that a lot of these guys, you don't know what their work schedule is outside of this, but they whether it be a 9 to 5 or 7 to 3 or whatever the job is, right. So
that's where my struggle is, right? It's like, well, how much of this is just, I know my schedule, it's very set, right? So I don't have problems that people with a rotating schedule have. My schedule is very different from your schedule, and I know that, right? It would be tougher for you to be on a team that had scheduled scrims, where if I was on a team, right, exactly. So I get that. So that's why I'm like, look, take it with a grain of salt. Like, my life is very different from other people's lives, right? And I totally get that. I just think if you're aspiring to be a pro, you should probably have the tournament realm already installed. Yeah, you would have had a patch, but the patch was a lot smaller than the entire tournament realm install.
8 gigs of the entire tournament realm. Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Right. So the other problem that happened was Gosu Gamers, like, because of the number of teams that were signed up, there ended up needing to be 3 first-round games, and then a number of second-round games. The teams all got through with a bye just because of the number of teams that were set up to play. The second-round teams all had to wait for the first-round games to finish. So there were a lot of people twiddling their thumbs for an hour. Some of that was due to patch install or tournament room install. Some of that was due to waiting. J-How and Solid Jake, nothing for an hour but them talking. Haloran
Sounds like a sitcom.
Right? It was right. J-How and Solid Jake, Fridays on NBC. So, but like, it was a weird dynamic, right? And then Gosu Gamers came out with a response. So there's a Reddit thread linked in our show notes if you want to go read more about it. Lots of the teams, like, that was up while everybody was waiting for either the patch to or the tournament realm to install or for round 1 to complete. Lots of teams posted in it. Gosu Gamers responded, and they basically said the one tournament admin we had working thought that because we're on EU time and it was late for us, that he didn't need to disturb anybody to get help. And we knew about the tournament realm 11 days before we told anybody. So, yeah.
That's the most disappointing thing about it. So, I mean, at least they admitted it, but it's
Right.
like when you're... that's a week and a half to let the player base know.
Yeah.
You know, the people that are signing up for this tournament, just to, like, a note, somewhere right above the sign-up button that says, this is going to be played on the tournament. Put out a tweet, something, right?
Yeah. Like,
It's-
as soon as you get the information, put the tweet out, right?
It's-
Like, there's
I
no
can't
reason
imagine
to
it's
hold the
that
tweet,
difficult.
right? Like, just tweet it immediately. But here's the kicker, right? So they had to say that they knew, because that Reddit post is full of "we summon eSports Matt," like, full of summoning eSports Matt. Like, there's like easily 15, 20 people just summon eSports Matt, right? So if Gosu Gamers didn't say we knew about it 11 days ahead of time and tried to, like, say nothing about that, Blizzard would have been like, hold on, we told you guys 11. Like, Blizzard would not have taken the fall on that one. They're 100% they would have not, right? So
We're not going under the bus for this one. Right, I understand.
Right. Yep. So, all right. They responded. Their response left a little to be desired, but they also worked out with Blizzard an additional cup. So, yeah. I mean,
I guess it's a small victory, right?
yeah, a lot of people are like, I wonder, like, I worry about how well that cup is gonna do. But yeah,
Is it like I'm looking at it now, they don't really say, and I guess we're just gonna have to wait until they make the announcement on their website, but it says that it's, $1,000 prize money, points. It's going to be on the Open Division Tournament Hub, but is it going to be like an official Open Division Cup, or is it just a
yes,
amateur tournament?
nope. It
run
is.
by Gossip?
It is a full Open Division Cup. It will be. Now I don't remember how many they have this. Hold on a second. Phase 2. So instead of 7 cups before the playoffs, there will be 8 cups before the playoffs.
Okay.
So you'll get
Okay.
full points. You'll get, like, everything will go through. But as we get through the results, like, the teams that were like best positioned to do well are still in the best position to do well, right? Like, it's not like all of a sudden someone came out of nowhere and jumped into first place. Like, when we get down there and go through the results, it's all basically the same, right? Like, so, the cup is good because it gives those teams a chance to get more points, and there's one more chance for teams that aren't in that top, let's call it top 6 right now, or top 8 right now, to get some points and maybe possibly hit the top 8. But realistically, it's not going to make a huge change. The important thing is that I wanted to bring up, though, like, yes, it's amateur, but you know what? The amateur scene really, really builds on the pro scene. So it is what it is, I want to, our goal, yours and mine, and we talked about this, is to really bring attention to not just the HGC major regions, but the minor regions and the amateur scene. So, yeah, we're going to spend 15 minutes in the news segment talking about the amateur scene because that's important, you know?
Well, it's agreed. It's important. I don't. We don't have to go too much down the path, but yeah, it was interesting. It was something to talk about, and it's important.
Yeah. All right, so you want to jump into some results?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. All right, so for those of you watching tonight, I am going to go ahead and cheat, and we're going to use the top 5 plays from HGC Phase 2 Week 3. So if you're watching this live or you're watching it on YouTube, yes, I helped myself to Blizzard's video about the top 5 results. Just letting those run while we go through mainly just the big things that stood out to us this week. Because there weren't like a ton of things that were like, holy cow, that was amazing. Like the games this week were just kind of games we expected the results to go the way they did. So, but in China, let's start with China. Super Perfect Team has been doing well for a while now. They did something this weekend, well, not really this weekend, this last week, that I did not expect them to do. They 2-0'd CE. I didn't see that coming. Did you?
So, no, not at all. So they have been doing well. They were tied with eStar and CE over in the new Chinese HGC format.
Yep.
And after their showing at the mid-season brawl, granted without their captain, we do need to keep that in mind. They were playing with a sub, which they were playing with, I think, their manager as the player. Or
yep.
It's I didn't expect them to 2-0 CE, the team that convincingly, well, I mean, I don't want to, I say convincingly, but finished in first place in the first phase of HGC China, and just wasn't able to make it to the mid-season brawl just because of visa issues. But we had all suspected that if they had made it, they would have done as well, if not better than eStar did, and eStar did pretty darn well while they were there.
Right.
So SPT coming in here and 2-0ing CE was just kind of, I mean, I expected it to go 1-1 or CE win 2-0, but I did not expect the opposite result of that.
Yeah, it was crazy. I did not see that coming. Over in Korea, nothing really jumped out at me. I don't know. Did anything jump out at you in Korea this past week?
So I meant to put in here a little note, just a side note. Nothing too big. I expected Mighty to do a little better. I mentioned it on the Weekly Blizz, which we just recorded right before this. Yep. I expected Mighty to lose to MVP Black, which they did 3-1. But I thought that they would either beat or be a little more competitive with Tempest than they were.
Okay.
So I listened to last week's show on Trollin HGC, and you mentioned that after they lost to Black, that they might be a little, I guess, tilted, under the weather, however you want to describe it. And then so that they would lose the Tempest as well. I didn't expect that. I thought they would come back and take that win because they were off to a really nice solid start here in the beginning of the Korean HGC.
Right. Okay.
So losing to both of them just kind of caught me off guard. But other than that, I mean, no. L5's looking a little better. I think they got a couple of 3-0s this past weekend, so it's pretty much par for the course over in Korea.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Over in EU, the one that has probably the biggest upset this past weekend, Tricked eSports beating Team LiQuiuD 3-0. Like, on what planet did anybody see that happening?
Not at all. Now Tricks look good, and they're right up there in the standings right now.
Yep.
I believe they also beat Team Expert, if I remember correctly. They beat them in week 1.
Yes.
But this is all the same. This is also the same Tricked eSport that lost to Playing Ducks, which look absolutely lost right now. Their only victory is over Tricked, and they've lost to everyone else, including the new teams, Team Good Guys and Team Zealots. So wrap your brain around that. It's tough. And it's just like I was blown away. For what it's worth, all 3 matches, if I'm remembering correctly, were competitive. I should have jotted down notes, but I remember them being competitive. But Trick came out in the end on all 3, and so it's just
they definitely were competitive in all 3, but it was kind of crazy. All right, and then lastly, we are going to go over to NA. GFE going 5 games with no tomorrow. Actually, no, I totally skipped Team Good Guys, didn't I? I did. All right,
you did on
which
accident.
is a bummer because I actually like Team Good Guys. It's my fault. The end of the best 5 plays came up, and I flipped us back, and then when I looked back, I was over at NA. All right, so EU. Team Good Guys took a game off Fnatic. That surprised me. I love BKB. I love that team. I was still surprised they took a game off Fnatic because they don't quite look like they're HGC EU level yet. I think they're still like finding their feet a little bit.
So that's the thing about EU. I've talked about it before. Is and we'll probably talk about it a little bit here. Is that EU is like for the top 5. Yeah. It's really competitive, and then there's like a drop off, and it shows in the standings now that things are starting to shake out. But you could kind of feel it before this past week's results, anyways.
Right.
And then it drops off to like Team Good Guys and Zealots, and then and the Playing Ducks. So, but I agree. Like I didn't see like as much as I want Team Good Guys to do well. I'm glad that they made it into the HGC. I'm a big BKB fan just because I'm a longtime Town Hall fan, and he was always showing up there. Not to mention he's a great player. I didn't see them taking a game off Fnatic, considering how well Fnatic's playing. They've only dropped 3 maps, period, since the midseason brawl.
Right.
Right. And 2 of those were to Team LiQuiuD. They've basically 3-0'd everyone else. So to drop one to Team Good Guys was
surprising, right?
Right. It caught a lot of people by surprise.
Team Fnatic is my odds-on favorite to continue doing well in EU. Team Good Guys, I think, will be safe through this year and qualify again for HGC 2018. But I was surprised. I didn't expect them to take a game off Fnatic, especially Fnatic, who's in form Fnatic, right? It's not like Fnatic wasn't in form. Just it was a good game too. They executed well and they took a game off Fnatic, and I was happy to see that.
Agreed. This is like you said, this is Fnatic firing on all cylinders. This is Fnatic, pretty much the best team in the world, including Korea, Fnatic, so it says something.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, so now let's jump over to NA. All right, both of these have Gale Force in them. Gale Force, I love Crowan. He doesn't play for Gale Force anymore. I love Fan. He still plays for Gale Force. I'm moderately fond of Udall. I like King Caffeine as a warrior. You would think, and Akaface is a great support. You would think, like, with all these fields, GFU would be my team. But what... And I really wish there was a way to get Glaurung on that team. And, like, somebody off that team. Because, like, my dream team is, like... In fact, my fantasy team out at Roster Apocalypse is like Glaurung, Fan, Akaface, Justing, and I can't remember who my 5th is, but like, I mean, like that's my team, right? So I struggle because I love Roll20 and I like GFE. But GFE went 5 games with No Tomorrow, which I think I had them picked to go 3-1. I mean, 3-2 is not really that bad, right, compared to 3-1. But it still surprised me. No Tomorrow looked really good against GFE. And then Team Freedom beating GFE. And I was just like, I did not pick that to happen. Team Freedom, again, looked really good. It's not like GFE was playing like crap. I mean, I'm sure they would tell you they were playing horrible. But, I don't know. It's just like, I didn't see it coming.
So, I had made the argument that at the start of this, when GFE was winning at the start of this phase, they were winning, but they were kind of like, I don't know, they looked sloppy doing it.
Yep.
This week they actually look good.
Right.
Not to say that they were bad before. Obviously, they got to the top of the standings for that brief period, somehow. So, but in that No Tomorrow match, both teams were playing exceptionally well, and it just so happened that GFE won in 5. That being said, when they came to face Team Freedom, I'm a big Team Freedom fan, and I'm a big Cure fan, and Team Freedom looked exceptionally good. Like, it's HGC North America, similar to HGC EU, is in a very good situation now where they have 5 teams jockeying for those 3 spots in the Clash.
Right.
And you could make an argument for any of the 5. Like, I mean, No Tomorrow looks like a completely changed team with Casanova on tank and Equinox in his comfortable position as the melee flex. You know what I mean? It's like it's going to be... we're in a really good spot as a viewer. And as people who are cover this for fun on a show, we are blessed right now.
Right. No, yes, we are. And it's like, I don't know. I struggle, right? Like all of NA, like everybody. So let's jump into some results. I'm going to go into some standings for you guys. All right. Let's cover some standings, and maybe that'll help explain my like not knowing quite what to say here. Right?
Your tongue-tiedness?
I am. Yeah, exactly.
Is that an adjective?
We're going to make an adjective, yeah. My tongue-tiedness. I like that. So HGC China right now, we have CE and Super Perfect Team in the number 1 and number 2 slot. Okay, that's about where everybody would expect them. E-Stars getting mixed around a little bit, and because it's China, top 3 get to go. So maybe I should start tracking top 3 for all the major regions in our standings, and I'll start doing that next week. Korea, MVP Black number 1, Tempest number 2. Again, top 3 are going, and I think L5 is sitting in number 3 right now. I don't have it up, which I feel like is a shame on me moment because I'm talking about esports and don't have it up. Let's just go take a peek. No, Mighty is in number 3 right now.
I think I'm looking at it now. Yeah, I believe that's based because L5 did not play the first week back. So
yeah, it is.
That's based on maps, and Mighty's played more matches. So there you go.
So I expect L5 to end up in that spot. Top 3 go again. EU Fnatic has actually secured their qualification to the Western Clash, which is in Ukraine. Western Clash in Ukraine. Do that math for me. Anyway. Tickets are free, by the way, so if you happen to find yourself in the Ukraine during the Western Clash, you can just walk in and watch some killer HGC. Makes me wish I was in the Ukraine because I would actually go watch that. All right, so Fnatic qualified. Team LiQuid, number 2 right now. And number 3 is, are you ready for this? Team Expert. Granted, Expert has one more game than Dignitas does, but Team Expert, okay. And then NA, my beloved NA, where we have Team Freedom in the number 1 spot. Let that sink in for a moment. Now, look, I'm not trying to bash Team Freedom, okay? Like, they look phenomenal right now. They absolutely look off the chart, okay? But how is Team Freedom sitting in the number 1 spot in phase 2?
So I don't have an exact reason. I will not pretend that I am a skilled enough player to be like, to analyze it and say, this is why they're number 1 right now. But I will mention, as someone who follows Team Freedom, everyone forgets that they went all the way to the end of the playoffs and lost to Gale Force and just missed out on going to the midseason brawl themselves.
You know what? That's a really good point. That is a really good point.
So it's just everyone sleeps on them. Maybe it's because they're not flashy. They don't have the big names on their team like Gale Force does. Like, when you think about Gale Force, it's like the Lakers in the NBA.
Yeah.
Sports ball
Yes.
people.
Yes.
It's like, you know what I mean? They have big names. They have big name players on their team. Udall, you got Udall and Fan, who won Heroes of the Dorm. Fan also was on Cloud9. Now they have 2 of the former members on Cloud9 from Cloud9. Aka, also winner of Dorm. So, I mean, for what it's worth, that team has big name players. Tempo Storm has been good for a long time. Roll20 came out of nowheres and surprised a lot of people. So these are all teams that are like, on your mind. But Team Freedom's kind of flown under the radar.
So,
right?
All right. First, yes, that 100% agree. You know what I think my biggest problem right now is with Roll20. Roll20 swapped out Yoda for Goku.
Correct.
And
Goku's looked good in that spot, by the way.
Yes.
Not to sidetrack you from your thought there. I just want to comment on that.
Goku has looked good in that spot. I cannot disagree with that. But I feel like... Well, actually, all right, wait. I want to come back to this. Because number 2 is GFE. Followed closely by basically a tie in number 3-4 with No Tomorrow Roll20, okay? So if you look at North America and you look at EU, like the top 5 are like greatly in flux right now. They're all over the place. There is no clear pecking order.
and they're really close. So
Right.
like when you look at the HGC North America standings right now, the top 4 teams all have only lost once.
Right.
They're only separated by map score right now.
Yep.
That's why Team Freedom is on top. They've 3-0'd or 3-1'd everyone.
Yep. No, 100%.
Except for the time that they
No,
lost.
they didn't. Right.
Right.
Yes. And Tempo Storm is sitting 3-2 right now. So my struggle is it's like the top 5 is just it's not a mess. It's just there is no clear. Yeah, man, I can totally pick these guys out. EU.
It's tight.
EU. Everybody knew Fnatic was like they were done. They 5-0'd. They were done. They're like, what up? We just won mid-season brawl. Yeah, we're not stopping there. We just 5-0'd the first part of phase 2, and we're going to Clash already. Hell, we can take 2 weeks off and just go start boot camping now, right? Like, it's insane, right? Everybody else
the next 2 teams. That's the tough part.
Right, but yes, that's where you struggle. If you look, Team LiQuiuD and Team Expert, both 3-2, but map score is the difference between Team LiQuiuD and Team Expert. Dignitas and Tricked are actually tied. Like, they're actually tied. They're both number 4. They are the same across the board. They are 100% tied right now. There are 2 weeks for them to work that out. Like, what? Like, the top 5 in EU and North America is insane.
It's hard to believe. Like, I was telling, I think it was probably a week and a half ago now. I was telling Guaz that there's a situation now because EU is so deep and so good.
Yeah.
That Dignitas, runners up at the midseason brawl, right? Arguably the second best team in the world, might not go to the Western Clash.
How crazy is that? That like blows my mind. So people it's awesome. Don't get me wrong. It's awesome. But it's like, what? Wait a minute. Arguably, all right, let's be fair. Definitely top 4 team in the world. Okay? I can go with that. Definitely top 4 team in the world. Might not make it to midseason brawl. How is that a thing? But
Western
it's a
Clash.
thing.
But
Or Western Clash. Yeah. Western Clash. Sorry. Yeah.
It's crazy.
And Roll20, the only North American team to take games off of Korea, might not make it either. Like, what? What?
Roll20, and they're in a situation because of their loss to Gale Force.
Yeah.
Is like, we haven't touched on it yet, but they have to win this coming weekend.
Yeah.
They might be on the outside looking in.
I did some like paper napkin math while we were doing the Nexus Trolls, and it was really like it's a struggle. And I feel like so next week you and I have to make sure that we go through and we figure out what has to happen next week, right?
Yeah.
So that when we're previewing games, because next week is the last week to qualify for Western Clash. So next week we have to make sure we have it figured out and have the scenarios ahead of time. But I basically said, yeah, they have to the teams in NA that should Tempo Storm and Roll20. The only way they make it, I'm not even sure Tempo Storm can at this point, but the only way they conceivably make it is if they win out the next 2 weeks. Every game they play this weekend and next weekend, they have to win to even get in, right? Which may be possible.
I'm going to pull up a sneak peek here. I want to see who Tempo Storm's playing in these next coming weeks. Let's see. They've got Roll20 on the docket this weekend.
Yep, this weekend. That's one of my games I picked that I was highlighting.
And then in week 5, they have Team Freedom. So by no means an easy path for Tempo Storm.
No, not at all. And they
have
to win those.
2 losses, and they have to beat 2 teams that are ahead of them in the standings.
They have to win those. They have no choice. If they don't win, they're not going to Western Clash. How is that a thing? Here's the team that was number 1 in phase 1. It was 11-1 or something like that, ridiculous like that. I don't even remember what it was, but it was ridiculous how well they did in phase 1. Sitting at number 5, it might not go to the Western Clash. Meanwhile, completely separate from that, both Nomia and Red Candids have qualified for Western Clash.
Some things never change.
Right?
Well, it's funny you say that, but I don't think Jay Shreet's been to like every single international event from LATAM as far as that there's been available for Heroes. So it's a whole different world, literally.
No, I think it is. Yeah, it's crazy.
Listen, man, it's a great time to be alive if you're an esports fan as far as Heroes is concerned.
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't trade it for like anything, right? It's great. It's just like, what? All right, so let's jump into some preview games. So I picked my 3 that I'm like, these are the ones, like, if you're only gonna watch a couple games, I have my 3. But if you have any on that list right now that you're not picking out, highlight them in like orange, and we can call them out separately as we go through.
Okay.
But so I'm gonna go through like the whole schedule, and I mean, you're grabbing that one right off the top because I can see you have it highlighted, so we'll go ahead and cover it. All right, so Friday, starting with Korea at 5 a.m. Eastern. All these times are gonna be Eastern, okay? 5 a.m. Eastern, we have MVP Black versus Tempest. I actually feel like I left that one off by mistake, so I agree with you that that's highlight worthy. It's number 1 versus number 2, right? Like, that's got to be highlight worthy. Not the text, dummy. All right, I'm just talking to myself. I was not, for those of you not watching the notes, I was not talking to Bahgz there. That was me screwing something up. All right, and then at 7 a.m. Eastern, we have MVP Miracle versus L5. Now, look. L5 is down in the standings, but I do expect them to beat Miracle pretty straightforward. So...
and they've looked better. Granted, they didn't play anyone good these past 2 weeks, but good. But they haven't played anyone like they didn't play any top tier competition out in Korea. They played Blossom and RRR, but they 3-0'd both of them for what it's worth. So they're
right. But I mean,
they're beating who they're supposed to beat.
It's like RRR. They're 0-5 right now. You know, like Raven RRR is actually going to be probably a decent game on Sunday because both of them are 0 whatever, and one of them at the end of the weekend will have a win.
Someone's going to come out with a victory that doesn't have one right now.
Right.
So,
and then starting at noon Eastern over in the EU, we have Tricked Esports versus Team Good Guys. Should be a fun game to watch if you watch all HGC like I do. If not, and you're only going to tune in for a couple, that's one that you can probably skip. Dignitas playing Ducks. I expect Dignitas to win that. That's at 2
I think
Eastern.
it's going to be a 3-0, but
yeah,
that's my theory. That's a real bold one.
No, I actually I think you're right. It's going to be a 3-0 or a 3-1. Like, playing Ducks might cheese their way into a victory, but I think Dig wins that, right? Then we go to the 5 o'clock hour over in NA, and we get No Tomorrow versus Naventic. Like, it's Naventic. I hate to say that, but it's Naventic. They're sitting at 0-4, like, even in death.
They look bad, man.
Like, look, yeah, even in death, props to you for getting into HGC. That's more than I've done. But both of those teams are just, like, they're there. They're collecting a paycheck, and they're trying to improve, but I don't expect them to win. So
even in death did look a little better this past weekend.
Yes, 100%. They look like they're improving because that repetitive play is helping them out.
It's huge. They're facing top tier competition more often.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah.
So I completely agree. But the game that I'm super excited about, Roll20 versus Team Freedom at 7 p.m. Eastern. I guess, that gives me 2 really good games Friday, right? Number 1 versus number 2 in Korea, and number 4 versus number 1 in NA. But let's be honest, Roll20 being number 4 right now, that's not going to stand. Or I hope it doesn't stand, but
I think a lot of us agree. Roll20, I mean, they're sitting in 4th right now, but I think it's safe to say most people feel that they are the number 1 team in NA right now. They they slipped up against Gale Force. They looked bad that day, but I think that on anyone's best day, that if they were all out there playing at their best, that they're the best team in NA.
I agree. So here's the kicker, though. So that's my game to watch Friday. Those are my picks, right? No Tomorrow versus Naventic, though. That's going to happen, obviously, right before that. We both expect No Tomorrow to win that handily. That's going to make No Tomorrow 4-1, which moves them into number 1 slot contention. Like, this is what NA is at this point. Like, the top 4 is just a mad dash to let me get those sweet, sweet points, So
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna, like, we'll see how these last couple of weeks shake out with Tempo Storm playing against the other top tier teams. But if the records kind of continue to stay similar, it's going to come down to map score. It's going to come down to, like, am I beating my opponents more handily than the other teams are? Like, am I 3-0ing and 3-1ing instead of going the full 5?
Right. Nope, it definitely will. So let's jump into Saturday. Saturday at 5 a.m. Eastern, we have Raven versus L5. Okay, well, L5 gets a win. That'll help them move up in the standings. That should put them against up above Mighty, right, in theory. But then we have Mighty playing Team Blossom. All right, well, Mighty's going to win that probably. Team Blossom has done, I think they've
done better
wins.
this half than they did the previous. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think their 2 wins are only against Raven and RRR. So I don't know that that's going to really...
That's a good point, how legit those victories...
Right. I mean, it's Raven and RRR. I hate to say that. And, again...
RRR is just Korean even in death. I mean...
Right. But all of those teams are better than me. So I'm not trying to, like, diss your team. I'm just like, the quality is not as... your quality is not as good as Mighty's quality, right? So, watch it if you're up. If not, it's cool. Check the VODs, maybe hit the highlights. But the game to end all games, noon Eastern on Saturday. Fnatic versus Dignitas. The revenge game, if you will. Mid-season brawl part qua?
This is the rubber match, but during the regular season. So Dignitas got the first win at the first Western Clash. Fnatic got the revenge at the mid-season brawl.
But like 3 times. It wasn't just once. It was a number of times, man.
So I'm hoping, because Dignitas has looked shaky. Let's be real. They've looked shaky since they've come back to regular season play.
Yep.
I hope that they can capture that magic in a bottle,
right?
and really make this competitive and go the full 5 like LiQuiuD and Fnatic did earlier in this phase. Because on paper, this matchup is the absolute matchup of the week. You know?
I think earlier, let's see, let me scroll back real quick. Zexrus was watching the Nexus Trolls, and I mentioned this game. I think it was Zexrus. Yep, El Clasico for you football or soccer fans. That is it. Other than the teams aren't Spanish, that's it right there.
Yeah,
like that's as close as we have in Heroes right now.
Barca and Real Madrid. Yeah. I dig it.
Right. Other than like I guess at the Korean heyday, L5 MVP Black was kind of that, but I feel like Fnatic Dignitas is truly like they embrace that, right? There's trash talk amongst them. There's a lot of not animosity, but there's a lot of like good-natured competitiveness between those two teams.
Like jabbing between. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's my game. Like if you're only watching one game and you don't mind it not being an NA game this week, that's my game to watch. 100%. If you're only going to check out one, you got to watch Fnatic Dignitas. All right, and then jumping down, 2:00 hour in the EU, we have Zealots versus LiQuiuD. Okay. LiQuiuD should 3-0 Zealots. Zealots not doing the best right now. LiQuiuD, not completely out of form. So I expect them to 3-0 Zealots. Not really worth watching unless you, like me, just keep the TV on HGC all day. Like literally my TV just streams HGC all day. My kids will walk through and like HGC's on again. I'm like, yeah, dude, it's still going. It
never ends.
It never ends. I did tell them they had some bye weeks coming up. They were excited about that. But then we jump over to NA, right? And so another game that I want to call out, Tempo Storm versus Roll20 at 5 p.m. Eastern. That's going to be a good game.
So what I love about this new HGC format, is this is the third time. Well, it's more than the third, but like,
right.
So Roll20 has beaten Tempo Storm twice now at LAN events.
Yep.
And Tempo Storm has won once online. So now we get to see if like it's a rematch of what happened at the midseason brawl. Twice now,
Right.
Roll20 has eliminated Tempo Storm from international competition.
Right.
So we get to see if Tempo Storm gets to exact the revenge. Meanwhile, they're also playing for their Clash lives. If they want to go to the Clash, they have, like you said earlier in the show, they have to win this.
Well, here's the kicker, right? If Roll20 beats Tempo Storm, I don't think can make it to the Clash at that
That's
point.
it. Like they
have to get that win. I mean, I need to confirm that, and we'll know for sure. Obviously, next week is probably too late, but we'll know for sure next week. But that's a game to watch, right? Like
we got to get a
you gotta
DB
watch
Smiley
that
in the
game.
house, man.
Right, dude. That was the thing I said earlier. I was like, man, I wish his article was out already, because he's run through like all these iterations and can tell us. In fact, let me just go. Maybe I missed that tweet. Let me go pull that up real quick. While I say the last game Saturday, that it is what it is. Even in Death versus Gale Force Esports. So that's pretty much just going to be Gale Force getting 3 points. Nope, he has not written it yet. So I'm still looking at last week's article, which is kind of a bummer. I wish it was out. If the trend holds, he will publish it tomorrow. Check out, honestly, guys, check out, if you're listening to us, you obviously care about HGC. If you have not read DB Smiley's articles over at gfe.gg/news, do so. He does a lot of math around where teams fit internationally based on their performance at various international events, because he has his kind of own MMR formula for that, which actually tracks pretty accurately. And then he also does a lot of reporting around like the odds on making it to the Clash, the odds on making it to BlizzCon, and the odds on ending up at the Crucible. So absolutely go read his articles. They're great articles, really in depth. I can't rate him highly enough. I try to retweet him whenever I see him, and he usually tweets every time he launches it. I thought maybe I had perhaps missed it this week, but looks like I did not. So yeah, check those out. But yeah, I wish it was out already too, man.
Yeah, what I love what he does is it's very similar to what I used to I would follow on ESPN. They have I think they had the side site, it was 538 or 530. They would do all the math stuff.
Yep.
So you know exactly what I'm talking about. They have the ELO ratings of teams or like the odds of this and that. It's great stuff, man. I love it. It's just interesting for what it's worth.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, he used to call he refers to his as a 323 weekly type thing. Similar reasons. So yeah, it's good. I like it. All right, Sunday, none of them like jumped out and tickled my fancy. 5 a.m. we have RRR versus Raven. I mean, all right, Raven gets its points. 7 a.m. Eastern, we have MVP Black versus MVP Miracle. Bacon and I talked a little last week. I don't know if you caught that section, but I think we did. Maybe it was off camera. Honestly, I don't remember now. It all kind of blurs together. But Black will always be better than Miracle, basically.
Yes, yeah, you guys mentioned that.
Okay, good. Yeah, so Black will always be better than Miracle. Miracle is the farm team. Black will take the cream of the crop and move on. Black looks really good, even with Rich there replacing their healer. Black looks really good. Rich doing some Rich-like things, and man, they let Rich get mouth heal, and I still don't understand why that was a thing.
Isn't that funny? It's like the best player in the world playing the most overpowered character in the game. It's just that seems like a recipe for disaster. I can't believe they'd let that happen.
Like, why would you do that? Like, anyway. All right, so Black plays Miracle, and then moving into the noon Eastern hour in the EU, we have Zealots versus Tricked Esports. So Tricked gets its points. You know what? I should be fair there. Zealots has a chance at, at least taking a game off Tricked. Then we have Team Expert playing Team Good Guys. Again, Expert probably getting their points, but Good Guys has a chance at taking a point or two off Expert, or a map or two off Expert. I don't think they'll win the best of 3. 5 o'clock Eastern, back over into NA. We got Even in Death versus No Tomorrow. Points for No Tomorrow. That's going to help them in their standings, move them up. Keep them in contention for a brawl slot. Who was the other No Tomorrow game? Naventic. So that basically makes No Tomorrow 5-1 by the end of the weekend. Actually putting them in a great position depending on what happens with Roll20 Team Freedom. That could put them in first place. And then Superstars versus Naventic is the last game at 7 p.m. Eastern on Sunday.
It's hard to believe how Superstars went from being like maybe, the number 4 or number 5 team in NA that are just the other teams. I don't think these superstars went backwards as much as the other teams just took more steps forward.
They definitely went backwards, and I'm
You think so?
gonna drop my bomb here. All right.
Oh boy.
Explain to me. You have Shrey. Shrey has been warrioring for that team the entire Phase 1, right? So all of Phase 1, you have Faye, Iacona, Shrey, Goku, and Hosty. However you say his name. That's your team.
I think it's Hosty.
Right? Shrey was your warrior. Right? He's listed as a flex, but he played the warrior. That's what he did. Now
Right.
you bring in Airho, right? You drop Faye, you bring in Airho, and you trade Goku for Yoda. Now all of a sudden, Shrey's flexing, Airho's on the warrior, and Yoda played out of his mind at midseason brawl, but and he doesn't look bad, but like the synergy with the team is just off.
So Shrey had mentioned that he would like to go back to, not go back to, but he wanted to play like a flex role, and he had been thinking for a long time, but he didn't, I guess, enjoy it so much.
Right.
So like if I'm trying to, like, there's a lot of moving pieces here, but
right.
I guess and this might not be the most accurate way to make an assessment, but I feel like Yoda's played really well at the midseason brawl, no doubt. It was amazing, especially on Lei Meng.
Yep.
So you could make the argument that he's either an equivalent, he's either equal to or an upgrade over Faye, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna. I don't want to.
Equal to. Yeah, I will agree with equal to.
I don't. It's like nothing screams like that Urho is an upgrade over what Shrey was doing on the tank, or vice versa, right? So I'm gonna say that's a wash. But Goku is probably the best. All right, I don't want to get ahead of myself with this hyperbole, but Goku is, he's one of the best, or if not the best, melee flex player in NA, right? So
pretty close. I mean,
so from Shrey going to playing the main tank to going to the melee flex, I guess that would be a downgrade. So if everything stays the same, Shrey is lesser than Goku in that role. So I guess now that when I think about it, that's where they would be taking the step backwards, and I didn't really think that through. So, now that I've taken the time to kind of
roll through it. So here's my struggle. I agree with most of what you said. My biggest problem is I think Airho is a downgrade from Shrey also.
So that's 2 steps back.
Yes, and that's where I think when they mechanically, I don't think that's true. Mechanically, I think Airho is probably a better warrior than Shrey was. Mechanically.
Okay.
But how, like, it's not just mechanics to fit with the team as the warrior, right? You can be the best warrior in the world mechanically, but if you struggle to click with the team, like if you don't
got to be on the same page.
Yes.
Because that's because as the warrior, you are the engage, you're right. You know what, I understand what you're saying.
Right. And so that's where I feel like it's like hitting a wall. Shrey instinctively knew when it was phase 1 superstars, this is when I need to peel, this is when we're ready to engage, right? He knew that because he'd been playing with these guys for a while. Airho doesn't have that yet. And Shrey is the flex, doesn't bring to the table what Goku brought to the table. Because I'll agree, Airho or Yoda is like
we're gonna call that a wash.
We'll call that a wash, right? Yoda Faye is a wash. Yoda is a little better on certain characters. Faye was a little better on other characters. We'll call it a wash, right? But Airho doesn't know what Shrey knew, and Shrey can't perform how Goku performed. And you have this double step back thing. Do I think they can work it out? Sure. Do I think they're going to work it out anytime soon? No. And so I think right now, I think they'll beat Naventic, and I think they'll keep themselves out of being Crucible fodder.
They're going to be just a step above it. But I agree with you. They're going to be a step back in the standings. And plus, the other teams took a step forward. Like, for what it's worth, Urho's not a No Tomorrow anymore. No Tomorrow went from Crucible team to like
Number
hey,
one.
maybe we're number one.
Well, and that's my point, right? Like, I don't think, which is also weird, right, when you consider it. But I'm not trying to say Urho's bad and Urho's the issue. It's just Urho fitting in with the rest of the team, right? Like,
Right.
and Casanova's playing, like, off the charts
Great.
good,
Yeah,
right?
it's a revelation.
Right. So, like, you have, and Equinox, the same thing. Equinox wasn't performing this well on GFE. Granted, he was playing a role that he didn't want to play, or wasn't, like...
He was uncomfortable with, yeah.
Right. But Equinox didn't play this good. So all of a sudden, you have No Tomorrow, like, playing out of their minds. Even Tiger JK is playing better now than he used to play. Right? So you get this weird thing. But, so Superstars Naventic is our last game that we have Sunday night. Watch it if you're going to watch it. I'll actually probably call it a night when that one kicks off. And catch the VOD before the show Wednesday. And just be, you know, maybe I'll go watch a movie with my wife or something. I may even do that at 5 o'clock and not watch Even in Death No Tomorrow. Who knows, right? Or my youngest, it's his birthday weekend. This weekend we may take Sunday to go somewhere because all the Sunday games, like I can catch them on VODs and see what I missed. But I'm not like, oh, like we really had to like
I'm gonna miss both of those. I'll be at work, but I guess I won't be.
Yeah, I mean it's not like you're gonna miss like a huge. I hate to say that because all HGC games are important, but there's just not like, you know, just not a whole lot going on with that set.
I hear you. You know what I am looking forward to? Spoiler alert. This is gonna sound a little rude, a little
That's
BM,
right.
coming from the podcaster point of view. Week 5, man, we get what we call in fantasy football the toilet bowl. We get Even in Death versus Naventic.
Yep.
In the 5 p.m. week 5, the last week of this half of the phase.
Yeah, no, I know. It's like, but we have that. Don't we have that this week for EU? I thought, or was it? No. It's,
we have it in Korea.
Korea, right. Like it happens every part in every phase. Like you get the toilet bowl, 100%. You get it. It happens, right? So yeah, it's gonna happen. But all right, let's jump over to some amateur scene updates. We'll hit these real quick, and then I want to save a couple minutes to talk about Stukov. I was worried about us filling an hour and a half, but man, we're having no problems. We're right on track. So amateur scene. All right, EU Open Division. I'm just going to highlight the standings right now because their next cup is on this coming Monday, the 17th. Currently in first place, we have Bushido eSports with 240 points. Man, they picked the right team when they picked that team to be their entry into eSports. It's looking like not only is Bushido going to win EU Open Division, but they may actually knock someone out in the EU Crucible. That they look that good if you watch them. And
it's just a testament to how deep the EU scene is.
I
mean, granted, now there's a bunch of the players that were formerly on Team LiQuiud that was like the nickname the Spanish Armada, and they went back and forth with really old Dignitas back in the day. But it's just a testament to how deep that scene is, man. Like that. We could have another team coming up from the Open Division and knock another HGC team out. Like, that's crazy.
Right? Meanwhile, in NA, we're like, please, give us some of that. All right, so number 2, Leftovers with 145. Number 3, Run It Down with 110 points. Leftovers and Run It Down actually look pretty good, too. Number 4 is Who Am I? I wasn't able to catch any of their games, but they're sitting at 110 points, too. So all the teams actually look pretty good so far. The interesting thing for HGC Open Division EU, they only cast really the games that Grubby and Tetra are casting.
Right, you don't catch all the little smaller games like in NA. We have the smaller streamers.
Right, doing all the other games, right? So in EU, everybody pretty much takes Grubby's clean feed and then localizes it with their own language. So that right? So that's what you get instead. So like it's kind of a bummer because I don't get to catch some of the other games I'd like to see. So that's why I haven't really caught a good game with Who Am I yet. But they supposedly they're doing all right too. So we'll have to see. Bushido is just dominating right now though, so I don't think that's going to change before Crucible time. NA Open Division, after all the drama was said and done, Players Unknown. So the semifinals were Players Unknown getting beat by Imported Support 2-0. Hold It Down beat Donkeys R Us 2-0. setting up a third-place match of Players Unknown versus Donkeys R Us. Donkeys R Us winning that 2-0, which was crazy. And then Hold It Down versus Imported Support was the final. Hold It Down winning over Imported Support 2-1. So that was interesting. And currently, I think we have right now, just for a little like live action for you guys, I think we have Imported Support playing in Heroes Hype right now. Let me just pull that up real quick, just so I can double check. So Imported Support doing good things. I think they might be playing Flame is Lame. Yep. So trying to see if I can't trying to see if I can't get someone from Flame is Lame on the show to talk HGC and the amateur what's going on amateur wise. But that game is going right now over on the twitch.tv/Heroes Hype channel. That's a good game too. So check that out. Also, I was gonna point out that Heroes Hype Tempo Storm Season 2 Week 4 is tonight. Obviously, I just kind of covered that a little bit. Chair League, new seasons have started Tuesday night. Last night was the first night of Tuesday night's league. Thursday will be the first night of Thursday night's league. That's going to go until September sometime. And what else? Bloodlust. Dude, I will try to follow the season finals this weekend of Bloodlust for the amateur teams. That's what's going to determine which amateur teams make it in to face the pro teams.
What I want to figure out, and I meant to tweet at Jake and ask him, is how they're going to handle the whole raw bus, can flub, buttered toast situation where Hold It Down, where a lot of these teams are like, they were the teams that won the qualifiers, right?
Yep.
But it's like the same players on 4 different teams, but mixing and matching like 2 of them or 3 of them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. We might not get an answer before Saturday, right?
It's too late now. Yeah, Saturday we'll find out.
Yeah.
So.
Damn, man. Next time, hit me up with that early. I got some connections. I could have. Yeah. If you think of that, a little earlier next time, I might be able to get that answer for us. But it's all good, man. It's all good. It'll be interesting to see what happens. You're right, because a lot of those were like, we replaced like one person.
I think Arthalon is on all 3 versions of that team. You know what I mean? And
right.
Crone's on like 2 of them, and Mac might be on all. I think McIntyre's on all 3 versions of the team too. So it's like a weird situation. But like Insomnia's on some, and then it's weird.
It is. It's definitely weird. And to add to the weirdness, B-Step was going originally, but B-Step is no more. So Roll20 will be replacing B-Step as the pro team going into Bloodlust. So
that's a good thing.
No,
I feel bad for Cattleprod though, because I think literally live on the feed the one night he like dropped $1,000 to try and send B-Step, and they disbanded.
And now B-Step disbanded, and now it's Roll20. Thank you, Cattleprod. All right. So last thing I wanted to discuss before we end for the night, Stukov was obviously released yesterday, and he is an interesting. I don't know if you got a chance to play with him or see him in action today.
3 times right before the stream.
Right before stream. All right. I am curious what you think. Are we going to see him at the Clash?
So
he won't be available until then.
Right. So I'm a gold level player at best. I'm gonna asterisk this right now, right? But for what it's worth, in the 3 games I played with him, he does a lot of healing. Like, he puts out a lot of healing, and he in a situation where we're running like these double healer comps.
Yep.
And they're kind of like wear it down comps. If you don't have a lot of burst, I feel like to go up against Stukov, he's got, for a single healer, he has an insane amount of sustain. Like, if you build them a certain way, and I don't know if this is viable, it just seems like he doesn't run out of mana. You put your Q on someone, it spreads to everyone. You press D, it beefs everyone up like it's nothing.
Right.
So I can't say at a competitive level because I'm just not a competitive player, but I feel like he fills a niche that, as far as like kind of like sustaining healing that Lucio and Brightwing try to fill. Lucio's gone. He's RIP. And Brightwing is making her way back into the meta. I feel like Stukov has the tools to maybe not replace Brightwing because of the global, and because of the poly, but certainly fill a niche in certain situations where he might be more effective than Brightwing. So I think we're going to see him. I don't know if he's going to be like first tier, like I don't think he's going to be Uther status, or in this double support meta that we are kind of double support, double tank meta, like divide that we're in. We'll probably see him. If I had to guess,
Yep.
he's not going to be up there with Uther, but he's going to be up there with like Oriole, where we see him a lot, but he's not, maybe not every match.
Well, like him Tassadar, right? Because the utility that both of those healers bring together is huge.
So, and I mean, he's for what he's worth, he's fun. I took the arm push ultimate on him, and it's on such a short cooldown, and when you land it, like when you land high value ultimates with that, shoves, it feels overpowered. But then when you miss, it feels like just right because the cooldown's short enough on it. So you miss, you're like, oh, it's not the end of the world. But when you land a high value one, you're like, wow, and I get to do that again in 20 seconds. That's crazy.
Right. No, absolutely.
So I don't know. But again, that from my perspective, I'm not at that level. I think we're going to see him though. I don't think he's like Lucio rip. You know what I mean? I think he does a ton of healing. So
he does a lot of control too, right? The silence is nice. The healing he does is actually really nice as well. And
I think pro players are going to love him too because he is, for at least for me, he was tough to play. Like
the thing with Shove, right? Like Shove has the ability to change a team fight in an instant. And that's the thing I always come back to. Like people are always like, well, how do you like why is like what are the high impact players? Or not players, but heroes. And it's like anything that can change the scope of the battle in an instant. So I realize that you have to sit there channeling your shove as you're shoving the person, right? But I can take your most impactful hero, and if my positioning is good, completely remove him from the fight.
You could shove an ETC mosh pit into next year.
Right. Like, it doesn't matter what you do. I just shoved you all the way across the map. Or even if I don't shove you all the way across the map, but I shove you far enough away across the map that you can't effectively engage in that team fight. Now all of a sudden a 5-on-5 is a 4-on-4, and maybe my 4-on-4 is better than your 4-on-4.
So that was what I got out of it. So, and I guess it's I mean, there are more pieces to his toolkit than just the shove. But what I got out of it was like we were in a team fight with the other team, and I was able to land a high value shove on the enemy Rhaegar, where he was just out of range to heal anyone. It was like he was gone for 5 seconds. All of a sudden it was 5v4 for however long. But so I mean I guess that's where we're at with it. It's just like he can do that. You can take the tank and get rid of him. So now all of a sudden your front line has access to the back line of the other team very easily.
Right.
So
or think like something else that was the wombo potential with him. I think Daz brought it up earlier tonight. You land a void prison and you just immediately put his silencing area under the void prison. As soon as the VP ends, you're blowing up that area with every area of effect spell you have, and they can't do anything because they're silenced, right?
All they can do is try and run out. Yeah.
Right. So, like, I think we'll see him. It'll be interesting to see how we see him. Now, the one asterisk I will add, that's assuming he doesn't get nerfed on the patch that they end up playing in the Clash.
Right. Before correct. They could nerf him in time so that the patch I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So if next week we see a nerf patch come out, probably not going to see him at the brawl, or not the brawl, at the Clash. So I don't know.
Okay. All right. So it's tough to say. I'm not like again. I guess we'll close it off with. I'm not good enough to say expertly, but I will say that I think we're going to see him because he felt strong.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. Cool. All right. So, anything else you want to throw out there before we?
One last thing.
Yep.
While we're here, while we have this platform, if you had to guess from the Big Four regions, which 3 teams we're gonna see in each clash, who would they be?
So
You don't have to say
from
yeah, you
each
can- you
region
can-
or
each one. I mean, China's easy, right? So, but
well,
you
China's
can-
easy.
Yeah.
Like China's the top 3 is the top 3. That's not going to change.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. So that's going to be SPT, CE, and Super or in E-Star.
E-Star.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like 100%. So I'm gonna skip China because, like, I think we can both agree that ship sailed, man. That ship is never coming back. All right, Korea. All right, I like pre-player swap L5. I don't think they're gonna get it together in time. I think it's gonna be Black, Tempest, and Mighty in Korea.
You think Mighty's gonna go ahead of L5?
Yes, I think right now they are simply on map or map record, and I think they're going to be able to keep that.
Have they played each other yet? No, they play
no.
in week 5. I think it's
Yes.
gonna come down to that.
It is, and I think Mighty's going to surprise some people.
Okay. All right.
So what? But
So-
do you think L5 is going to replace Mighty there?
I think L5's gonna go.
Okay.
And my reasoning is based on that. I believe L5 beat Tempest earlier in this season, and Tempest beat Mighty. But if Mighty lost for the reasons that you suggested last week on the show, then that's out the window.
So
we'll
here's
see.
here's my problem with that.
Okay.
Tempest, like it all comes down to what has happened. So Tempest, I actually think deserves to be number 1. I think them and Black are solid locks 1 and 2, 100%.
Okay.
And I think they will go back and forth a little bit. I think Tempest has the ability to take the games off Black. I think Black has the ability to take the games off Tempest. Mighty, if you look at Mighty's match history, they lost to Tempest and they lost to Black. But I think that's going to end up being their losses, right? They've won everything else, and I think they can beat L5. Only
Okay.
because of the way L5 is playing right now. Like they're not playing well. Like they barely beat Tempest. Tempest was 3-2. Like they barely beat Tempest.
Yeah, I understand. All right.
So that's why I think that is probably the way that goes. But we'll see, right? I think Mighty L5 is going to be a great game to watch in week 5. Because that's
Agreed.
going to, like, winners going, loser stays.
There's gonna be a lot at stake there. So
Right.
that's the beauty of it when things are tight like that.
All right, so EU. This one's a little harder. All right, so we already know Fnatic's going, right? They've clinched
Correct.
their spot, period, done, no questions asked. I actually want... I feel bad saying this because I like Bakery. I think it's going to be Expert and Tricked joining them.
You don't think Liquid's gonna make it?
Now I gotta... Hold on, I gotta look at the schedule because now I gotta look at who's playing when.
Oh man.
EU. Hold on, let me check this out.
Let me pull it up too.
Um...
This is great
Okay,
audio.
so the problem is LiQuiD beats Zealots, right? Like 100% LiQuiD beats Zealots. But Tricked also beats Zealots. Expert beats Team Good Guys. So and Tricked beats Team Good Guys. So in this week, everybody's winning. But Tricked has 2 games where Expert and LiQuiD only have 1 game, okay? And then we go Expert plays Dignitas. Or, I'm sorry, Tricked plays Dignitas. I think Tricked wins. Again, all right, so here's what it comes down to. So I think Tricked goes, period. Right, let me check my standings to make sure I'm not crazy. I think Tricked makes it. I think Expert LiQuiD in week 5 is going to determine
Okay.
that. That's
my theory is I think Team Liquid, Team Expert could go either way.
Okay.
In that final week.
Okay.
I think that because I think that the way it is right now is the way it's going to finish. I think it's going to be LiQuiuD and Expert that go to the Clash. I think Dignitas is going to miss out on it.
Yes.
Now, and I think Tricked is going to miss out on it as well. And I think that's going to be because that they coughed up that loss to the Ducks early in this phase, and it's going to cost them. I think that they're going to be one loss short of being able to go, and they lost to a team they should have beaten. They would have needed that extra win.
I agree Dignitas doesn't make it in. I think Tricked might be able to pull off the points to make it in, but we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah.
It's going to be close.
Right.
That one's going to be close. All right. Now, I'm in a weird spot because I think Pleb King got it right, but I don't want to seem like I'm just taking his choices here. But I think he got it right. 100% I agree with Freedom and Roll20. My struggle is GFE versus No Tomorrow. And so, again, I'm just quickly looking over.
Pleb King left out No Tomorrow.
And here's why. No Tomorrow easily has the better schedule for this. Let's see here.
They have Naventic on tap. That's a win. They've
Right.
got Even in Death on tap. I feel like they're on the easy half of their schedule now. So that's a win.
But they do come up against Roll20 in week 5. All right.
That's going to be... There is some big matchups in that last week,
Dude,
man.
week
Roll
5
20,
is
No
like
Tomorrow,
where it's
and
at.
Team Freedom Tempo Storm. There is going to be a lot at stake with those matches.
But here's the thing, and here's why I think No Tomorrow may actually replace GFE. GFE only has 2 games remaining before the bye. One of them's against Even in Death. All right,
That's a win.
That's a win. One of them is against Superstars.
Potentially not a win, but I think it's
right.
a win.
It's probably a win, but Superstars has done some weird, like, Superstars gets in GFE's head a little bit from time to time. So, like, I feel like maybe... So if they win both, let's say they win both of those, that puts them at 6-1. But if No Tomorrow wins both of those, that puts them at 6-1. And then I don't have the number of 3-0s in front of me, but I'm wondering if No Tomorrow might end up winning if they 3-0 2 of those games. Like, that third spot is going to come down to week 5 again. Like, week 5 for EU and NA is setting the teams for Clash. I don't think we're going to see... I don't know, man. I think I'm going to settle on... All right, I'm gonna drop an asterisk on this and say,
okay,
I don't actually have the schedule sitting in a way that I can be like, okay, the available points for this team means they can do this.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be Roll20, No Tomorrow, Team Freedom. I think GFE is gonna get bumped. I feel really weird saying that right now, but I think GFE might get bumped.
For not for entertainment value, but legitimately, I am the exact opposite. I don't see GFE. I don't see GFE losing again this phase before the Clash. So I think they're going to get. I think they're going to pick up the win versus Even in Death, and I think they're going to pick up the win versus Superstar. So I think they're going. But it's the next 2 spots that I really struggle with.
Okay.
All right. So No Tomorrow has 2 easy wins, but then in week 5 they have the really tough matchup where they place Roll20.
Right.
Tempo Storm's already got 2 losses. Their backs are already up against the wall. They can't afford to lose another match, and they don't have easy matches either because they have Team Freedom in week 5, and then in week 4 they have Roll20.
Right.
So I'm going to say Tempo Storm's not going because they have the extra loss. They can't afford to lose anymore. Their schedule's too tough, so Tempo Storm's not going.
100% we agree. Tempo Storm's out.
So I've got Tempo Storm out. I've got Gale Force in. All right, so that leaves No Tomorrow.
Wait. You think Freedom? You think GFE's in before Freedom?
I do. I don't. I'm flicking back and forth with these links real quick.
Right, that's the problem, right? I definitely feel like we need to be more prepared going forward for these weeks.
So, I've got Gale Force is going to be Even in Death next week.
Yes,
of that I'm sure.
Yes.
All right. So then it comes down to week 5. They're playing Superstars. I can see where it's competitive, but I feel like Gale Force is going to win that.
Okay.
That's my opinion on the matter. So I think that means that's going to mean Gale Force is going to finish with 1 loss in this first half of the phase.
Okay.
So to me, that means they're in.
Okay.
if it goes that way. I feel like Tempo Storm, their schedule's too tough. They already have the extra loss. They're not going to make it. So that leaves 3 teams for 2 spots. No Tomorrow, Roll20, and Team Freedom.
Yep.
Let me pull up the standings again real quick. They're all sitting there with 1 loss. And they all play each other in these last couple of weeks.
Right.
I'm going to say No Tomorrow is the next team that goes with Gale Force.
So
And that's based on the fact that they play Naventic and Even in Death next week, and those are 2 free wins.
that right there is where I struggle. Okay, well, I want to interrupt you for just 1 second. That
Go
right
for
there is where I struggle. No Tomorrow has by far the easiest remaining schedule, which means they're going to get 2 of those 3 wins 100%, right? 100% No Tomorrow wins against Even in Death and against Naventic. And then the only thing they have left is Roll20. But I want to throw something out at you because I think I want to revise my pick here.
Okay.
Roll20 has to play Team Freedom.
So that's the struggle. So it's both Team Freedom and Roll20 for that last spot.
Right.
That's a toss-up to me. I don't know who's going to get it. I'm going to lean towards Roll20 as of right now, based on prior results in international competition and the fact that, Roll20 beat MVP Black twice.
But Roll20 clearly does better at LAN events than they do at online events.
You're not wrong. And they can be a little inconsistent, as we saw when they lost to Gale Force, and it was just like they did some stuff that made you just go, what? What is this draft? What?
Right.
So, all right. So it's a toss-up between Roll20 and Team Freedom for that last spot from NA for the Clash. And I'm going to lean Roll20, but I could definitely see a world where it's Team Freedom. And this is me, like,
All right.
as a podcaster, supposed to be unbiased and professional, but as a fan, I'm a Team Freedom fan, and I want them to go.
All right. So just so we're all on the same page, what are your 3 picks?
Gun to my head,
Yep.
we're going Gale Force,
Okay.
No Tomorrow,
Okay.
and then Roll20.
All right. Okay.
With Team Freedom on the outside looking out,
I-
outside looking in, and Tempo Storm also out.
Tempo Storm I 100% agree with. The rest of it, man, it's going to be pick'em. Right? Like, it's literally NA is pick'em at this point. And I never thought we would say that because last year, or Phase 1 at this time, it was very clear who the top 3 teams were for the class.
It's the same thing in EU, though.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we're in a great position where we went from having the big 3 in each region to, like,
Right.
the big 5 somehow,
Right.
which is great.
Right. No, it's a good place. I think we're in a great place.
What a time to be alive.
No, absolutely. And what a time to cover this, right?
Yep.
All right. So I think that we're like right at time. So I think we're going to just end it there. Although I guess we're like 6 minutes early just because my little sound snafu in the beginning, but that's all right. Next week, and from now on, I think after the 3rd week, we're going to have the spreadsheet with remaining points stuff ready going into this, just because it's like
interesting.
Yeah, because it's hard to like look at the schedule and be like, this team's gonna finish there, right? So we can.
I'm looking. Yeah, absolutely. What was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought, man.
I'm sorry, man.
It's all good.
I'm looking something.
I tried to pull up. I'll tell you what though. I tried to pull up. I was going to pull up some stats off Master League to see how, like, if the meta has shifted or anything like that. But we're still in that midseason brawl meta. Nothing's really changed there.
No, Clash though I expect the meta to shift. The Zool changes, some of the other changes. I think the meta might shift a little bit.
And Stukov being around for a little while, for at least for a week, and Malthael after his nerfs. We'll see how that all shakes out. So.
Well, during the bye week, they can all play with that stuff and figure out what they really want to do, right? And kind of set the meta for the clashes. So,
hey, you know what's really interesting? I didn't think about this, and we didn't talk about it while we were in the Stukov effect on the meta discussion.
What?
Is Malthael is like a super sustainy damage guy, you know?
Yep.
And then Stukov is like the next tier that comes out after him is like immediately counters that with his like sustained healing.
A little bit, yeah. His sustained healing isn't quite enough. It doesn't spread fast enough to counter Malthael.
I understand,
right?
But it's
yeah,
it's you know, it's not Uther.
No. It's definitely better than Uther. That's 100% sure. So that's a good point. That's a very good point. Maybe that means next we'll get a warrior. Blizzard, please. We need another tank.
I think they mentioned that on the last town hall, that we haven't had a main tank since Johanna.
We haven't. It's crazy. So, all right. I think we'll stop there, though, because we're starting to do that where we're going to go down a weird rabbit hole. Oh, look, shiny object. Thank you all for listening to Trollin HGC, a weekly podcast about Heroes of the Storm eSports, a member of the Trolls.gg podcast network. We stream live on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/TrollsGG, every week on Wednesdays following the Nexus Trolls, starting around 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Pacific. I can be found. I was like, where can I be found? I can be found on Twitter at LiQuidGG, LiQiuDGG. Also over on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/LiQuidGG, LiQiuDGG. I will retweet, I retweet a lot of esports news. The Trolls GG account retweets the more important stuff. Follow me on both places and let me guide you on a path to esports nirvana. Yeah, that's what I'm going with. That sounded really weird. I'm sorry, I'm going down that rabbit hole. Bahgz, where can people find you?
People can follow me on Twitter at powerup_Bahgz. They can watch me stream kind of regularly. I don't really have a schedule. I just kind of on a whim when I have time on twitch.tv/Bahgz. And then you can catch me on the other show I do called The Weekly Blizz. It's not recorded live, but if you just subscribe on iTunes, you can catch me talking about Heroes as well as Overwatch, just Blizzard esports. Overwatch, they had the big news about the Overwatch League today with the 7 teams that they announced that bought in.
Right.
And
that was huge.
Esports stuff. It was huge. I don't want us to get off too off topic.
No, because we will. But that was huge. That was huge.
Yeah, I spent a good majority of my morning reading about that. It was very interesting.
Cool. All right. So thank you for all our Patreon supporters. If you like the show and you're looking for a way to support us, you can do so at patreon.com/TrollsGG. Subscribe to our show on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you happen to find your podcasts online. And please give us a review. It doesn't have to be 5 stars, but give us some feedback. We'd love to know how we're doing. You can visit our website at www.trolls.gg to watch this and past shows, along with past video streams, which can also be found on our YouTube channel. In Heroes of the Storm, if you'd like to hang out with us, please do /join TrollsGG. There's a chat channel in-game. I know Bahgz is in there. I'm in there. A lot of the Nexus Troll guys are in there. And just a lot of people that hang out, watch the show. Bacon's in there. Hang out with us. Come get a game with us. Definitely hit us up. I'm always willing to chat with pretty much anybody. For announcements about this show and Heroes of the Storm esports news, follow us on Twitter at TrollinHGC. Finally, if you need to get in touch with us, send us a DM on Twitter at TrollinHGC or email us trollin@trolls.gg. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Peace out.